Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to view Lost Ollie. So, this show from 2 episodes is to remind me of, like, Homeward Bound. If you guys remember that, like, Two Dogs and a Cat movie where they go on this adventure to try to re-find their owners. And I think they ended up doing like a sequel for that movie. Not quite sure. It was a while ago. But this show also reminds me of like Toy Story. So if you kind of combined those two together, to me, like I would say that would be close enough to Lost Ollie here. A lot of people would probably also, if they saw Sweet Tooth, they would probably say that also. With there not being someone that wants to like hunt down these stuffed toys or whatever. No, there isn't that going on like in Sweet Tooth. But I say that simply because there is some possible sad moments in this show, and I'm just saying that through the first 2 episodes. And so if you easily cry during some portions of this episode, I'm sorry, but like when really looking at it, like this show may get you sympathetic to certain characters. So, but I just thought, like, I was won over by visuals. I was won over by just like, okay, cool, this is a show that I can just take my brain and put it off to the side and just enjoy all of this. Just take it in and just enjoy the ride. So, with that said, though, for the life of me, I can't go on and just say this show is great. It is a very thin story. There is a lot of just jumbled times of Ollie having these memories that possibly don't really help him with how he can find where he's going. They just kind of pop in there, and then Ollie has to explain what memory he has to the other characters, and they're just like, okay, I don't know how that's going to help us here. So, with that said, what is this show about? So, we have a stuffed bunny named Ollie who ends up at this thrift store / pawn shop / maybe Goodwill, I don't know. And Ollie is to end up here from this box, and it seems that Ollie might be suffering from some kind of amnesia. I guess the further and further he is away from his previous owner. Like, heaven forbid I know the science of how things work with these characters, but I'm just factoring in that has to be the thing. So, Ollie is to try and escape this store of sorts, and is to come into finding some allies and some enemies. And Ollie first is to meet this clown-looking character called Zozo, and get a bit of his backstory, as well as also Ollie, within the first episode, is to meet with a pinked teddy bear named Rosie. And so we have, of course, Ollie, that wants to go on in this adventure, because it seems that he is to have this possible roadmap that may lead him back to his previous owner. And so the other two characters follow him along because they're like, okay, like, we have nothing else better to do, so, like, let's have fun with this. And so while they go on a number of these different uh, things, a boat, a train, and so on and so forth, we then come to, by the second episode, to find out that there is a character here that had taken Ali on this journey for a reason. And that reason ends up getting revealed by the end of episode 2, as well as us also finding things out about Ali's previous owner, it seems, because who knows if Ali gets back to his owner by the end of this show, because I haven't seen the rest of it. But the way of which that also episode 2 ends, I'm like, well, like, man, yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be like the rest of the journey is to be like wrapped up here, and then like the next 2 episodes may just be like okay, this wasn't as great as like how this show started out, so we'll kind of see how that plays out. So with that said, let's go on into double 5 time territory. I don't know if I graded this or not. I would say that this is, it's just like, I would probably go on and have it between like it's a solid okay, even though the story is very thin. But I feel that, like, I went through this and I at some points was just like, oh, this feels so much like a kid show. No, I had fun with it. And I thought that there were some random scenes and random stuff that I'm like, okay, where is the connection to any of this? And there isn't. There also is to be a point where I'm sure by the end of this episode it's going to get very sad. And like by the end of this season, it's going to be a very sad show. So I'm just like, oh, okay, well, I'm just waiting for that, where it's just going to get you very emotional. Kind of like the beginning of a Sweet Tooth was for me. Man, did that freaking get me. I was like, oh my god. Even when I was like reviewing that first episode, I'm like, oh my god, I'm still like, it's still like freaking like got to me, and I was so ticked off by that. And like I was trying so much to like dance around that whole moment, but it was just like, man, that freaking Sweet Tooth just freaking made me get freaking almost teary-eyed on a goddamn review, because that show, if you've never seen it, in the early parts, sad as F. It just is, unless like you're a person that just does not cry for whatever reason, because that's just you. So, anyways, let's go on into that double 5. It's about that time. The show is very simple. Check it out. I enjoyed it. It's one of those that, yeah, you can just go on and just plop your head and toss it out the side and just have fun. Just enjoy. So, with that said, I think it's about that time for me to go on and recap what is to have happened through these first 2 episodes. Let me know in the comments below how you felt about the show, whether you hated it, whether you loved it, whether you thought that it was too thin, or whether you're just like, no, like, this guy is going on giving like a middle-of-the-road kind of grade, and I thought that this show was effing amazing. And I'd be like, okay, alright, like, however you feel. So with that said, let's go on into spoiler time. Spoiler time, it's about that time. Spoil this amount of episodes. So, the beginning of the pilot of this show, or the first episode, Ollie is again in this thrift store, pawn shop. I don't know, I didn't see what the title of the store was, but that's what my natural conclusion would lead me to believe. So, Ollie is in this box and he's trying to talk to whoever is outside of it, and Ollie is continuing to try to talk to this woman who is, I'm assuming, Flossie, and because I'm saying that only because of like, is that how to pronounce the person's name? So Ollie is talking to this woman and getting nothing, and so she ends up stamping this price tag on Ollie's ear, and so the woman's like, "Yeah, you're not gonna last very long. You're adorable, and someone's gonna grab you up." So Ollie, of course, is realizing that Fosse is closing up for the day, and Ollie's trying to scramble out of the store, trying to go on to scramble and get out, and a door is closed. Ollie ends up kind of jumping from place to place to place, but then gets hung up on something. Now he has to kind of swing around to go on into getting himself like from where he's hanging from this cup that holds all these scissors and pens and whatever. He just got hung up on that. So Ollie, after he drops from the ground, all of a sudden a drip of drool is to fall around him, and he is to realize that there is to be this big dog. A big dog called Buttons. So we have our character now scrambling to run away, to have all of a sudden now Zozo start to go on and sing this song, and then push this dog to now more get to him. So Buttons is thrashing away on this Zozo, and Ollie is to now have this kind of candy cane like thing to like say that he is gonna go on and take on this dog. And so all of a sudden Fosse ends up calling for the dog because I guess like it's dinner time or it's time for them to watch a show together or something like that. So Zozo is telling Ollie like, "Hey man, like we should go on and get out of here and be where that dog is not." We also have Ollie that is a lot of talk. He ends up saying that he's full of karate and all this stuff. Like to me, like immediately the way Ollie's accent is, and just kind of like the way he is, really reminds me of like Elvis. Because I've seen certain variations of Elvis, where Elvis is to mention that he's really into karate and all these kind of things. And so it just kind of reminded me oddly of Elvis for some goofy reason. So Zozo and Ollie are to kind of get past these items to find Zozo's like sanctuary or his kind of fortress of solitude kind of thing within this store. So Zozo is kind of hidden away in this area, and so Ollie is to realize that he has this star that he's trying to figure out why he has it. So, come to find out, we have Ollie's previous owner, Billy, who his mother is to have these star earrings, hence the connection. And so, most of the time, Ollie is to take these earrings when his mother isn't using them and kind of just playing around with them. At some point, we have Billy and Ollie that are pretending they're pirates and they're going on this adventure to find this gold within their house. And so it seems that Billy had like constructed all these forts and all these things to do this pirate adventure, and we have his father that comes home. It's like, Billy, like, you really made a mess here, like, buddy. Like, you do realize that you're gonna like we're gonna have to clean this up. It's like, come on, Billy. It's like, maybe you should just like soon like just start to grow up. And then Billy's mother comes in and is to mention, it's like, well, no, just kind of just let him play around for a little bit longer, like let him be a kid for a little bit longer. And so both Billy's mother and father are to pretend that his dad is a knight and his mother is a queen, and they are to bow to the pirate and just have fun. So Ollie had somehow remembered all of that, and come to find out, we find in the show that Billy, I guess, was adopted from these two parents, and we find that out because Billy is to have these bruises on his arm, and so Billy's mother is like, well, hey, why did you get that bruise on your arm? And Billy's like, well, because this one guy was like squeezing on my arm, forcing me to want to like say that I was adopted by my parents, and I never said it. And Billy's mother, it's like, well, good, because like I know there's a lot of people that are gonna tease you because you are adopted, but like, hey, like you're still our son, kind of thing. So Ollie is to find out that Zozo has his own story here. So come to find out, Zozo had lost someone also. So Zozo had lost this ballerina. I think he ends up saying that it was from like a jewelry box or something like that. But like the most thing that I got from there was that this girl's named Nina and it was a ballerina. So Zozo was to mention that he had loved this woman once and he had lost her, and but Zozo is hoping one day that he will at some point get back to her or find her. We had also Ollie that was to ask Zozo about like the kind of scrapes that were on his face. And Zozo doesn't want to talk about that, and I'm assuming that that's going to showcase what happened to this character in the show somewhere. It's only a matter of time. So Ollie is to go on and hear Zozo's story. And so at some point, Ollie starts to have all these images popping into his brain about a number of places that Billy had either goals about or was to have uh have done in the past, and so they're kind of having this as his memory board, because we had Billy's mother that was to ask him, like, hey, is there anything that you can add to your memory board today? And Billy's like, no. So, like, it's basically just a wall of just all these kind of random pictures that Billy had some point done and or been to or whichever. So I think that's kind of cool. Like, that's like an interesting idea. Um so we have Ollie, who tries to remember all of these items, and one of them is a troll, one of them is uh, Mark Twain, and also there is to be this like white tower building, and so Ollie is starting to remember a bunch of this stuff, and he puts it all on this map, and we have Zozo that is telling Ollie, like, hey, make sure you like keep hold of that, because if you and me are going to go on an adventure together, like, we're going to need this to figure out where we're going. So as Ollie and Zozo are to decide to leave this store, we oh, here's also one thing that I wanted to get to. uh Ollie was to have almost been sold at this store by this girl named Susie. So Susie was to see Ollie and was like, well, hey, uh, like my dad would say that I can go on and buy anything for $5 in here. So, hey, you want to come with me? And we have Ollie, who's like, no, like I gotta go find, uh, like my, like I gotta go and find my Billy. And so Susie's just like, well, okay, all right. Uh, as we of course have Ollie, who is to explain to Susie like who he is, and that he doesn't remember much, and Susie's just like, well, okay, all right, well, see you later. So Ollie goes on with Zozo to try and push this doggy door that is on this normal door, to try and sneak out of this place, but they cannot open this dog door. And so they realize that they should just wait till Buttons, the dog, can use this door, because he has to go outside to go to the bathroom or potty or whatever. So Ollie and Zozo kind of wait until this doggy door starts to swing, and they end up putting a candy cane in between the gap, and then they get out of the doggy door. But then Ollie is to realize that he does not have his gold star, and so Zozo is to have to go back for this, because Ollie's like, I don't think I can remember anything without it. So Zozo goes on to find the star right next to the door, luckily, and grabs it and is like, okay, now are you happy? Like, we have it. So Ollie and Zozo are to now make their way out of this backyard thrift store to find themselves stuck in this car, because there is now a dog that is hovering over them. So what ends up happening is Rosie kind of flips and makes her way into the fray here, and is to take these little swords that she has and kind of pierce the dog's nose. And so Rosie is to go on and say here that, like, well, yeah, like people don't realize how, or like animals and people don't realize how sensitive their noses are. So we have this character that has like this lightning bolt over one of her eyes, and I was like, okay, like this is like one of those hodgepodge kind of characters that is a random assortment of a bunch of stuff. Just like that, this character has really been like really recycled a plethora of times, but I'm sure that'll go on to be like, man, that character was awesome. So Rosie, come to find out, had been past friends with Zozo, and so it seems that Rosie is going to get connected to this adventure because she has nothing better to do, and plus also wherever Zozo goes, Rosie should go anyways because they're best friends. So, but it seems that Rosie is very hesitant compared to any of the other people in this group, but it seems that there really is a justifiable reason for that by the end of episode 2. So, come to find out, we have these 3 characters that continue to walk on to, at some point, adventure to finding this black water, which leads them to have this tire that can kind of push them through this water. They then find this fairy and they latch on to that. And so we continue to have Ollie, who's starting to remember things. And so we find out within this story that Billy's mother is sick. That it seems that she is to need to go on to these doctor's appointments because she is really sick, but we're not exactly sure how bad it really is until the second episode, where they really showcase to us that more than likely Billy's mother could actually be so sick that she may die because they don't have enough money to pay for the treatments to possibly save Billy's mother. So yeah, we just have those like those moments in these episodes. So, but we also had the moment where Billy's mother was to have that story about a woman who is to steal a bunch of stars from the sky and like become this kind of star queen and this and that and like all these kind of fun, goofy adventures. So we have at one point where Billy's mother is to get a phone call, and so this, I don't like, I'm not 100% all knowledgeable about where all of this stuff ends up being placed in these episodes. So I'm just gonna go on and just talk about them. So if any of all of this happens in episode 2, then that's where it happens. But I'm just kind of covering it when I am thinking about covering it. So what happens is that Billy's mother is to find out that she is going to need to have a doctor's appointment, and she's to have to go to a specific building, and Billy's mother is to try to get out of it because she would need a babysitter, and they're like, well, no, like you need to get this done right away. So Billy's mother, because there isn't an actual name for either one of Billy's parents, it's just daddy or mama. So, and like it just kind of feels weird to say both of those. So either one of them. So come to find out, Ollie is to realize what the White Tower is, as we have Rosie, who is spotted at first, and then Ollie is to realize that he is to notice the building also, and complain to Rosie about, like, well, hey, why didn't you point that out to me? And Rosie's like, well, hey, there could be a number of white buildings. But once these two arrive on this ferry, we have Zozo that is telling both Rosie and both Ollie that they need to both fight to make it to the top level of this boat, because there's going to be like a treasure or surprise there. So both Ollie and Rosie are pretending that they're pirates and they need to try to take over the ship. And so both of them are kind of running around in the ship. It's really kind of cool till they get to the top and then find the White Tower, the building. And so Ollie is to kind of be this very like impulse character, and so Ollie is to see this other ship nearby. He jumps on it. Now that forces the other characters to follow him. So they make it to this White Tower building and come to find out that White Tower building is a hospital. So Ollie, when getting to this building, is to remember that Billy's mother was sick and needing to go to the hospital. And there was one point when uh, Billy and his mother were driving to this appointment, and they were singing a song together, and all of a sudden Billy's mother just kind of froze, and Billy's like, hey ma, like come on, like why don't you sing again? And she all of a sudden is like, yeah, let's finish up this song. So I'm like, wow, okay. Shouldn't be driving then. So both Billy and his mother get to this hospital, and so come to find out she has to go on and take an MRI, and then there's this MRI technician that is like, well, only family should be here, and so Billy's mother is saying like, well, like he's my son, and she's like, oh, okay. It's like whatever. Like we have to go on and just be like, oh, just because you don't have the same skin tone, like I guess he's not your son. So the MRI technician says that Billy's mother will be out of this machine fairly soon. So they go on and do an MRI, and so come to find out that this woman is to be so sick that she's going to need treatments, and we have a moment where Billy is to overhear what's going on, and so Billy's mother is making the choice that she doesn't want to die and leave her husband and son with a bunch of bills. So Billy's mother is saying if she's going to go out, she's going to go out the way she wants to. And that just means that like she's like tearing up here as well as the husband is, and so Ollie's realizing like Billy really needs Ollie, and that like there's something really going on with Billy's mother. So like I think for the most point that's kind of where uh we go on for this one. We also had Ollie that was to go into this room that Ollie had been to before, and there was this furry godmother painting. And Rosie's like, "Who is that?" And Ollie's like, "You don't know who the fairy godmother is?" And she's like, "No." So Ollie's like, "Well, okay, all right." So, uh, so we go further into this story, and I think right into episode 2. So for episode 2, we man, I'm having like issues figuring out how to like start this one. Uh, we mostly have Billy that is putting a bunch of signs around to find his lost bunny. And for this episode, we have, of course, Billy who goes into this bar, and this bartender named Rhodes, and Billy's asking to just put this sign on this bar, and Rhodes is like, "I don't think so, kid," and like, "Hey man, you need to just go on and talk to the owner, and maybe he'll agree to this, maybe he won't agree to it." So come to find out, Billy is to speak with the owner, and this is Mr. Gilly. And so Gilly is to know who Billy is. Like, "Oh yeah, like I know your dad." And so Gilly makes this bet of if Billy can go on and hit this 8 ball into this pocket, that he'll let him like hold the sign up there. So the kid is adjusting this pool stick, trying to probably put English on it or whatever. So we never really see what happened with the uh like if the ball went in or not or whatever. So but now as we have our characters trying to retrace steps, we have Ollie, Zozo, and Rosie who go further and further into this woods. And so Ollie at one point is to notice a certain sign that attaches to a possible school area that could probably get them to find Billy. But we had Zozo that was thinking like, "Well, Ollie, I think you know like where you're going, and like we already have like a location that we should go to, and if you're just kind of going on and kind of looking at other like things and wasting our time because you're unsure, like because Zozo is making this to be like important so that way they don't get distracted, and plus also it's getting dark out and there might be a number of things that might go on and hurt or attack them and whatever. So Zozo is just trying to keep Ollie on track and push him on to have them find the massive troll by this lake. And come to find out, they start to attack it, thinking that it's a real troll. Come to find out, it's just a thing made out of wood. So they climb atop this troll, and we have Ollie that is to remember this song while he was at this hospital that that Billy's mother was consistently sing to him, and it's dream, 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 and so come to find out, there is this place nearby called Dreamland. So there's the massive connection there. So they realize it's like, hey, there's this Dreamland thing over there. Maybe there's going to be something that even more so jogs Ollie's memory, because a song called Dream and Dreamland, there has to be a connection there. So they go to Dreamland, and so come to find out, Zozo is to have his own motives for bringing Ollie to this location, because Zozo is to mention that I also almost forgot, there's a whole train thing. Come to find out, Ollie was to talk about Mark Twain. And come to find out, Zozo was to figure out that the Mark Twain thing was a train. Because when Billy was younger, he used to call trains choo-choo twains. And so I guess every time there is to be a train reference, there is to be Mark Twain as that whole thing. So, and they go on this train and they jump on it, and like Rosie is to struggle to get on this train, and so Ollie like kind of flops out his ears to have Rosie like grab onto Ollie's ears so Zozo can push them onto the train, or fling them onto the train and then have him get in there. And so at some point they ask Zozo to like sing a song, and Zozo doesn't feel like it, but they kept like teasing him, and so they end up singing this song. And I think this song was called Lorraine. I'm not quite sure. People could correct me if they like. That's okay. And so, but now back, because I think after we go on and we do that, then we go to the whole like Bolt situation. I think after that, I think is what happens in the show. There's so many like little clips of little things that have to somehow get connected, but it's kind of just best to just kind of rattle them off for this episode. So we have Ollie, Rosie, and Zozo that make it to Dreamland, and they're talking about these bone dragons, which are just roller coasters, and they're talking about they're going to go on into another adventure into this Dreamland. So Zozo is to have this motive because Zozo is to realize that Ollie has the same bell that Nina had, and that when Ollie was to start singing that dream song for Zozo, like, that was to completely clinch the fact that Ollie knew Nina in some way, or that there's a possibility that Ollie knows where Nina is. And so Ollie is going to get tortured here to try to get this information out of him. We also had moments like on the train where Ollie was to have lost his Elvis stickers, as Zozo was to realize that Ollie was to have this hole in his chest, and so Zozo just slaps some Elvis stamps on that hole. But then it seems that Ollie is to lose those Elvis stamps, so they just re-sew with this little patch to close that wound. And like at first they're thinking like, well, hey, what are we going to use to seal this whole thing? And Rosie is to kind of give up some of her resources because of Ollie saving her. Rosie, in kind, gave Ollie a thing to kind of patch himself up, to just kind of have that kind of trade. So, but we have Ollie that goes on and turns to Rosie and is to hope that she is going to help Ollie here in this predicament with Zozo. And Rosie is like, you know what, kid, like, I knew this whole thing was coming, and like, I'm sorry, but like, I knew that this was gonna happen. So yeah, so now like Ollie's being tortured to get information, and Billy is to have made his way to this troll and is probably going to go on and find Ollie soon here by him possibly going to Dreamland, because Billy was to, I guess, have been told by his mother about Dreamland, and he decides that he wants to go on and he wants to go there. So with that said, I think that technically covers most of this show. I really went on and didn't perfectly have everything put together, and like there was a point where I was just like, okay, how does everything end the way that it ends in these episodes? I was trying to like put the pieces together, because there's just a lot of just a mixture of scenes that just don't all, like, in my brain fit all that well. So like it's just trying to make kind of connections and figure out all the patterns of the show. So with that said, I think I'm just going to go on and just get out of here. Just call it a day. Let me know in the comments below how you felt about these two episodes, whether you liked them, or you hated them, or you didn't like the show at all. But yeah, I think I'm just going to go on and just feel that, yeah, that this one's done. So goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.